Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people that want the best info, but just don't have the time. Get your podcast fix with the Cliff Notes versions of your favorite podcasts. No fluff, just the actionable golden nuggets. Having this much knowledge at your fingertips should be downright illegal. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with SatoriPrime. Here's your host, Ilan Ferdman.
Hello, and welcome to another Performance Enhancing Podcast with your host, Ilan Ferdman. Today, a very, very special podcast. I've actually broken this down in two parts, but SatoriPrime just last night turned 3 years old. Amazing accomplishment. So this past week, Guy and I got onto another beer talk. This is Beer Talk 3, and basically spoke about our 3-year journey, lessons we took away, things that we think differentiate us and our students. I mean, just some of the things we cover are how to unlock the genius leader within, how to grow a pair in your life and in your business, personally like that one. Or have you ever felt like you missed a huge opportunity in your lifetime and kind of replaying that miss over and over and over? Want to know the cure? We cover that. How to take the blinders off in your life. And then I think that the biggest takeaway from part one has to be how your deepest, darkest fear can be used to actually attract the life that you've always dreamed of. So that'll be the end of this part. So enjoy. This is kind of our 3-year gift, if you will. And I'm sure you'll enjoy this time that Guy and I spent together kind of reliving the last 3 years. So without further ado, here's Beer Talk 3.0.
Let's start our traditional beer talk without being traditional at all. Let's show them what you're drinking there.
So I got something a little special because it's been a pretty amazing week. I don't know if you can see that. This is called Thirsty Dog Wolver. I just want to read you some stuff on here because this is crazy. Wee Heavy Ale, aged in bourbon barrels, 11 months this thing is aged. Ooh. It's some crazy stout. This little 12-ounce bottle is in fact $7. So for those of you that think that's crazy, you're probably right. And I busted out the chalice.
Ooh, the goblet.
The goblet, which I usually just preserve for my big brews, but I said, fuck it.
And that's when you know that you've met a beer snob.
Let's get crazy. So while you're talking, I will just do this.
Nice. And what I've done is made a complete mockery of our whole system here by once again ruthlessly drinking all my beer prior to beer talk and not having any for this because we didn't put on the schedule. We're just doing it. So I went upstairs to the fridge, and the only beer I could find was my housemate's boyfriend's shitty Mexican beer that I'm sure tastes like piss and looks like piss. So I decided not to do that by putting horrible empty calories into my body, which I won't even enjoy. So instead, beer talk today will turn into a whiskey bourbon talk, and at least this I get to enjoy. So with that said, cheers to you, and cheers to you watching or who will watch. And because now we've wasted 2 minutes talking about beer and bourbon before we.
It's a beer talk.
It is a beer talk.
Damn, that is a serious beer. Wow. Woo!
I was going to give an example of how big of a beer snob you are just by saying the word Budweiser and watching the reaction on your face.
This thing's 12% alcohol. By the end of this thing, I might be like falling off my chair.
that'll make it entertaining for all involved.
All right, so let's jump right in. So
let's get to content.
Yeah. I actually chose this beer for a very particular reason. We kind of impromptu'd this thing. Guy and I have been on a whole bunch of podcasts recently, so you're going to see probably a whole bunch of SatoriPrime in a lot of different avenues that you never saw us before. And I decided to do kind of like a celebration. I think that's why I picked this really special beer, which is we've had an incredible month so far, and it's only, June 16th, right?
17th.
16th or 17th?
17th today.
17th, okay. So in 5 days' time, this Sunday, I believe it is, SatoriPrime will turn 3 officially. And Guy and I were talking earlier, we've actually doubled our income from our previous month this month and we're just halfway through basically the month. So this is kind of like a celebratory beer, and I figured, we're in such a groove, and people have been asking us such great questions. I thought, hey, why not do this ourselves and kind of have this question? So, bro, we've obviously, as we were talking before, I think hit like another gear, which happens, I feel like you go up and up, you plateau, and then you kind of like find that next gear. I think we've definitely found it. What would you say are, one or two things that you attribute to our success in the month of June?
The 3 years before that is what I attribute to the month of June. I mean, honestly, a lot of experience. We talk a lot about the dance, right? Learning to dance, what that experience is like, learning a new language, what that experience is like, the thought patterns that change from one of, sorry about the light, guys, it's just sunny in this direction right now. That experience of having to overthink things in the beginning and then watching the thought pattern move into more of an emotional space where you just have an instinct about things. And I think we've gotten to a point in our business, not just as brothers, but as business partners, and our roles in the business and how we each have instincts about our roles in the business, where things that used to have to be talked about and said and communicated about are now, it's in the dance. Like, we're in the dance. Like, I know it's, brothers, it's incestual and it's gay in this situation, but if Ilan and I were dancing, if we were dance partners, it's at a point where it's like we both know when to let the other person lead without having to have these like big discussions. And so when we take on a project or we're working on something, our roles are so clearly defined at this point in time that it's like just split up and go. And we've gotten so good at taking action. We've gotten so look at the cat. We've gotten so good at I don't know. It's really tough to put a finger on. All I know is that I have instincts today that I didn't have a year ago. I have instincts today that I didn't have 6 months ago. And we run a lot of masterminds with people, no matter what we teach, because I could teach processes, I could teach information, I'm really good at giving people experiences. But there's something to be said about the time, the length of period of time in which you get to experience something and how that integrates into your, I don't know, I'm looking for the word all the time. I keep on saying nervous system. What's like your emotional feedback system? Is that part of your nervous system?
Yeah, I think so.
It is, right? So it's like an integration into the nervous system. So it's like you take information and it like rewires into the nervous system, and suddenly information becomes a feeling, and you just have a feeling about what to do. And that's what great marketers, I think, do. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I remember when we went to J-Buds 2 years ago when we won that contest. And I remember Hoverson sitting across the seat and giving him acknowledgement about the fact that he could like just give you an idea of what the numbers were. Like, he would be like, oh, today we're going to hit this number and that's the revenue we're going to have. And he's like, it's so amazing that he's got that skill. But I was sitting there, I'm like, he's just built instinct. He's got such an instinct for launching a product because he's done it so many times that he's just excellent at doing that. And so that's kind of what I would, attribute to that, I suppose.
I mean, we had this conversation a little bit, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or maybe a week ago. And I was saying to Guy that, honestly, for the first time, there's a big shift in December. I think we spoke about it in another beer talk or another video about joining a mastermind and being able to make a profound difference for 7, 8, 9-figure earners, and then kind of carrying that momentum into our belief system, which gave us better actions, etc. But I also said to you recently, and it kind of shocked you a little bit, that I think this is the first time I've ever been obsessed with our business. Which sounds kind of odd to, I think most people would be like, are you kidding me? You're so passionate in all your videos, etc. But, when I joined forces with Guy was probably 6 months down the road. And for those that know him, he's like I've said to everyone we've met, I said, there's very few people in this world of marketing that are as technically savvy as Guy. He just sees the world like a matrix. It's unreal what he's able to do. And so I kind of always felt for the first time like I was in his shadow, like it was his company, and I was just kind of like trying to find a place of my own within it to help the company. We had a few pretty tough conversations early on.
Sure.
And I feel like for the first time, we've always had this dance and this groove, but like I found my pocket in our business, and I found the thing that I think I'm as good, at least very like in the upper echelon of other people in this industry of what I do, as a communicator and, you know, creating content, being on the phone with people, etc., which is what I've always loved. And it's always what came naturally to me. But my level of experience, and Guy always says, is like, every time I go away on vacation, you have to take that part of the business. And like, I have to focus on doing more technical stuff, which obviously helps me with my skill set, quote unquote. But I have to say, like, being obsessed with your business, passionately obsessed with your business, I could honestly say is the biggest difference maker. If you spend an hour in your business or 4 hours in your business and it feels like 5 minutes, then you know you're on the right track. And I mean that in anything in life, you know, whether you're a painter, a musician, whatever, you know those times when you totally get lost. If on the other hand, you spend 5 minutes and it seems like an eternity to you, chances are you're not doing the thing that lights you up. So maybe just take a look at your own life and kind of gauge, like, are you waking up in the mornings, hating your life? Are you living for weekends? Guy wrote a great book a while back called Living for Mondays. And you know what? I got to say, like, I really don't work on the weekends. I really try to check out and have that family time. But Sunday night, I'm like so anxiously excited for Monday morning to come because I know I get to play.
And seriously, what a gift. I mean, I remember the first time I had that experience where Monday wasn't something I dreaded. Like, Sunday ending wasn't a bad thing anymore. There was no alarm clock to wake up to the next day. Like, all that kind of stuff. I immediately thought to myself, I'm like, wow, what a gift I've given myself. And I've said this before, you know, no alarm clock. You make this decision to join this kind of opportunity to learn this skill set, to work from home, to work for yourself. I mean, the moment you don't have an alarm clock anymore, the moment you don't have a boss to talk to anymore, you get to take off time when you want. You're already 99% of the way towards retirement, right? Most people look at retirement like a financial goal. It's not. It's a freedom goal. It's just, how do you define freedom? Most people define it as a number figure. I would say I'm not saying it's not part of it. Money is always important, right? Because in the game that we play, that we call life, and whatever this, you know, BS that we're doing out here is, and it's fun, I guess, in its own right, but people give so much significance to it that it becomes all they're concerned with, when there's so many other beautiful things to get yourself concerned with. Increase, you know, your knowledge base, increase what you're doing in that area of life, and you'll see that the money isn't what causes the enjoyment. The money is a measure of something, right? Just like time is a measure of something. And you want to be able to measure. So we measure how many people we're impacting by the amount of money that's being made, because the value that we give is the money that we're able to earn. So there's a direct correlation between the two, but our primary focus, especially over this last year, has really moved from let's take care of ourselves to let's take care of everybody else. And just keep doing that and keep being those people, which is what we've naturally been really good at. I just think it's like everybody else, you start a business and it starts in a scarcity mentality, and you do everything you can to push yourself out of that mentality so that you can see the world of abundance that's out there. That money is really not this difficult thing to ascertain. In the 9-to-5 game, it's difficult to ascertain. In this world where those rules don't apply anymore, it's not. Your only limitation is on what you personally believe you can accomplish. And that's, I think, something I really want to talk about, because that's what's been going on for us since the beginning of the year, is like because of who we spend time with, and I want you to talk about it, because of who we've surrounded ourselves by, which again, we've talked about so many times, surround yourself with that which you want to become. We've started even looking at ourselves as different, because we see the value that we're bringing to people who are like, people we would hold up here and say, wow, you are so successful. What the hell am I doing in the same room as you? And we can still provide value for that human being, immense value for that human being. Completely changes your perspective.
Yeah. I just want to read this this quote, because we did an interview today with Ryan Moran, different than Brian Moran, Ryan Moran, legendary guy. I mean, really, really amazing guy. And I just want to read you what he wrote to us after we finished the podcast with him. And I just want to use this as a segue to kind of transition to what we're kind of shifting our business to. He said, "Gentlemen, that was the most hard-hitting podcast I've ever recorded." Just so you guys know, he's been doing the podcast for almost about 3 years. "Whatever you're selling, I want it. I want to book a consultation with you to identify some blocks in my own life. I'm at a major tipping point, and my fears have been yelling loudly the last couple of weeks. Thank you for such a fun hour, and I can't wait to do it again, Ryan." Now, I said to Guy afterwards that I'd met Ryan. We've spoken before, and like he's one of these really kind of pragmatic guys. Like he really asks a lot of questions. He doesn't take anything for face value. He's really a good thinker. And I told Guy to hear that kind of compliment from him is a big, big compliment. And Guy said right away, as soon as we got off, he goes, "I don't know. I don't think we know the genius that we possess, but it takes these kind of interactions to actually show it to us." And I just want to kind of segue, not to kind of toot our own horn, but we got into this industry wanting to be life coaches for people, right? Like initially we were looking for marketing to be like, okay, how can we help change people's lives? We never thought in a million years, if you told us that we would launch a Facebook product for $37 with Mark Hoverson, I don't care how much you would have told me, like I wouldn't have believed you because I was like, what the fuck are we about Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Lo and behold, here we are, as Guy said today, you know, in the elite class of the Facebook minds of the world right now. SatoriPrime is definitely up there. So with all that, what we found has been the most impactful of our lessons has always been the mindset stuff. It almost doesn't matter what we're talking about. The things that get the most juice, the things that we get the most feedback on have always been these kind of conversations where we're talking about mindset and shifting people's perspective. And it's the first time that we're about to launch a product focused solely on personal development. We've never led with personal development. It's always kind of been in the background. So Guy, I just want you to share with people a little bit, like what are you seeing shifting in us, in yourself, in our business, that we're now able to come out there and say, you know what, we're going to do this? Yeah.
I want to rewind it just a second before I answer that question. I definitely want to answer that question. So hold it there, and I might ask you what the question was again, because I have a memory of an ant these days. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, you said before that we're like recognizing our genius, right? And again, it's none of this stuff is in a egotistical kind of way. I really don't want it to come out that way. I'm saying it in the most humble way possible. It's one of those things when I was younger, I wouldn't have said about myself because it sounds boastful, but today I'm like, it gives me juice. You know, there's a belief behind it that I wasn't there. So, you know, genius, take that word however you want to take it. I don't mean like we're an Albert Einstein's by any stretch of the imagination. But
Albert Einstein, I have a glass of beer in front of me that's as big as my face.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Albert would have been into it actually. But my point about that is you said that it's taking us to be around great people to recognize our genius. Almost like they're touching us and letting us know like, yep, you got that too, right? And I remember coaching people, and I remember early on in my coaching career, what I would do is, I was depressed and suicidal and all these things. So I would look for people in the classroom that reminded me of myself, like these depressed souls, because I was like, if I can do it, you can do it too, right? Like people who've lost weight or accomplished anything. And you think to yourself, like, there's no chance in hell I thought I would ever accomplish that. So if I can do it, anyone can do it, right? And I was one of those people. I am one of those people. And I would work with these people who were like really depressed, and it would just kind of like suck the life out of me. I loved the work. It would just take up a lot of my energy. And then a few years ago, I was coaching, and I suddenly realized I'm like, I don't have the capacity for that. I was responsible for like 100 people at a time, so I couldn't possibly give the energy to, you know, just working with those kind of people. But what I noticed is I started having this ability to recognize leadership in the room. Early on, like early onset leadership, like early onset Alzheimer's. I could see early onset leadership. And because I could recognize the same path that I had walked down towards my leadership, and I could see where they're going, they just haven't recognized it yet. And I realized that it had taken someone telling me that I was a leader for me to recognize that I was. And it took me like years to recognize that. So I was like, screw that. Like, these people shouldn't have to wait years for someone to tell them. I'm going to tell them now. So I would go into the room and I would find these leaders, and I would find like 4 or 5 people that I really saw had like unique attributes from everybody else. And I would give them like the Midas touch. I'd be like, hey, you've got it. And let's work on this now. Let's push the stuff out of the way that's stopping you from seeing who you are. And what I noticed is as their layers would come off, they would provide value for the rest of the room. You know, like it's like a pyramid, like everything else. Starts here, trickles, and suddenly like 100 people are being taken care of because I'm taking care of 5. That's an amazing thing. So I feel like that's what's happening with us right now is we've had these people just kind of tap us, right? Because we're around these great people who've accomplished amazing things. And we're seeing like, holy crap, we're providing these people immense amount of value in their lives. And that allows you to be like, maybe I am, maybe I can. And that I think just pushes your action. So now can you remind me of the question you asked me?
Yes, I said, what have you seen? So we're going to finally lead with a personal development product.
Right.
First time ever. What has shifted?
Yeah.
What has shifted for us that we, have been dubbed Facebook guys and have played that role? And guys, we still love teaching that stuff. Like the reason we've had this month, aside from the mindset and the this and the that, is because we've just dialed in Facebook like never before, ever. Truly, ever before.
Yeah.
But why now? Why are we coming out and saying, hey, we're ready to come out and not come out, but present the personal development side of our business to the world?
Yeah, I mean, in the most blatant, like blunt type of way, which is, I guess, what we're good at, is we grew a pair. Like, honestly, I mean, we've had this product on the shelf for 2 years, and the only people who have had access to it are people in our masterminds, because there's a context of coaching that we want them to have prior to joining our mastermind, because we know that the value we can provide people is far beyond just marketing, right? We use marketing as a segue. I mean, they get great marketing results, but we use marketing as a vehicle to allow them to see a lot of other stuff that's going on in their life that they're getting stopped by. You'll notice that when you break through in any area, it doesn't limit itself to that area. It spreads across your entire life. So even if you're just scoping in on marketing, but you're taking action in a way that you've never taken action before, suddenly like that action shows up with your relationships, it shows up in your business, shows up with your friendships, it shows up in every area of your life, and even how you feel about yourself clearly. So I think we gave it to enough people where we started seeing that the feedback on it had nothing to do with marketing. Suddenly people were like, I wish I would have seen this 10 years ago. My relationship with my spouse is completely different because of this. My relationship with my kids is completely different because of this. I'm getting results I've never gotten before. And for me, that was a huge wake-up call in terms of suddenly like, wait a second, we do have that authority, and we know how to establish that authority quickly. I think going back a year or two when we had developed this product, I didn't believe that we could create authority quick enough. Like just meeting somebody for the first time like this on a video, that me and you were at a level where we were communicating our authority in the field quick enough for a new person to see the type of value that we could provide on the back end. Today, I feel like we can. Even if the conversation doesn't start with personal development, the way that we are being with people and what I'm seeing them show up as just as a function of those conversations, not necessarily even being coached, I was like, suddenly I'm like, man, we're doing this all over the place. We could be talking about marketing and people are having life transformations. So I woke up to the idea, I'm like, there's absolutely no reason for us not to play in that space. Maybe we're not a Tony Robbins, maybe we're not a Jack Canfield yet, but they also started being people who were nobodies and had to get on the map. And I'm a big believer, if you don't get started, then don't expect the results anyway. So I have no idea what's going to happen with this product. I'm sure like our current customers, a handful of them are going to buy it. We're going to get some good feedback. But what I'm really curious about more than anything is the people who've never been exposed to our brand, what's going to happen there. And furthermore, I would be much more proud of our brand if I don't mind being a marketer. I don't even mind being associated as a Facebook marketer, but I would want that to be secondary. Not you're a great marketer and you provide personal development. I want to be, you provide amazing personal development and you're a great marketer would be my preference for our brand.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I just want to point out, like, I think we're sharing here our story. I hope what you're listening to is mapping this out on you, okay? Because there's a process we went through, and I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. we're about to hit our 3-year anniversary, okay? Couple of things. One, our business today is 10 times better than we ever thought it would be in 3 years' time. We had a 5-year plan. We are crushing that 5-year plan, okay? 1. 2, our business looks nothing like what we wrote down when we first created SatoriPrime. Nothing.
Yeah.
I wish we kept that piece of paper because I would read it out loud to you and you all would laugh. So I want to say a few things, and I'm going to read this. I just did a podcast on this, so maybe you'll understand it. This was from a Jim Carrey commencement speech, and he was talking about how every one of us has a talent that it's our job to provide that talent to the world, and the way that you affect others is the most valuable currency you have. That's basically how you make money, right? And what he said that I absolutely loved, and I'm trying to find it here right now, is that he had a teacher back in the day who told him that when she prayed for something, she always promised that she would do something in return. So he went home, he was a kid, he asked for a bike, told, whomever that he's going to do rosaries every single night, broke that promise. 2 weeks later, got this bike. And ever since then, he knew that he could have anything he wanted in his life. And the takeaway is this. People are afraid to ask the universe for what they want. The key is to just ask the universe for what you want. Work your ass off for it. It's not like sit on top of a mountain going, and hope that it rains down on you. Literally work your ass, but then let go that it has to show up a certain way. Because if we were attached to our business, SatoriPrime, looking a very particular way, we wouldn't be sitting having this beer talk with you right now. Your job is not to figure out how this whole thing works or how it's supposed to show up. It's just to look for an open door and then walk through that open door. And what he said that I thought was absolutely brilliant is that most people are like, oh, I missed my chance, I missed the door, blah, blah, blah. Here's the beauty about the universe. Doors are opening all the time.
Yeah.
And if you miss that one, then you'll find another one to walk into. So don't fret. Truly, I think what we've done better than most people, because we came from a personal development background, is 2 things. We have a very different conversation about fear, which I want us to get into in a minute. And I think we weren't attached to any way that things would look. We have a massive, massive commitment. And for those that have been with us for a long time, I think you're seeing probably more of that mission fulfilling. Our mission by 2020 is to impact 1 million people in the most life-altering positive way, like literally change 1 million people's lives. And we do that by breaking down the walls to what you believe is possible in your life.
Yep.
We achieve that by helping people find their passion, find their talent, unleash that talent, and build the freedom and life and business that they've always wanted. That's really all we've been doing.
And my personal my personal feeling from where we are right now is we're gonna have to stick another 0 on that number. I'm just because
I hope so.
I finally have context for something. You're talking about where you're saying, I'm sorry to cut you off, but when you get started, you have no context for anything. The fact that you think you can imagine what it's going to look like. I have a lot of context now, and I have no idea what it's going to look like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So it's you're demeaning yourself by doing that. You're limiting yourself by doing that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, because if we had an attachment to the way things needed to look, we would be way smaller than we are today, because it takes taking the blinders off, and it takes surrounding yourself with amazing people and listening to their feedback, both good and bad, good and bad, right? We've been told plenty of times that we suck at this and we suck at that. And guess what? We worked way harder at having that work. But when someone that you respect and you surround yourself with much better people than much smarter people than you think you are, and those people feed you back, everything inside of you. I remember when I read that, I was like, that voice that comes up is, God, if you only knew, right? But you realize that there's a real impact there. Mm-hmm. And then that should feed you to be able to provide more of that to others. So if I can impart anything on everyone listening is have a big ass commitment, big ass why, like something that lights you up every single day, that every conversation you have with people, every content you create is imbued with that passion to make a difference for people. Because I'm telling you right now, the world is shifting. People are done with bullshit. People are done with scammers and liars. And I'm just so proud of what we've done because truly, for anyone that's known us for a long time, we are so committed to you and to your success. And we've made that our business focus forever. And that's what makes me the proudest. We always knew the money would come. Always. And we never focused on it. I think for so many people, and we've heard from people in like really high-end masterminds with, you know, really gifted marketers, et cetera, and they're like, they're still money-hungry douchebags, you know? They're just good at what they do, but they don't care about the person. And I think I'm so proud that we're hopefully, with your help, going to cause a serious revolution. Because when we train our apprentices and when we train people in our masterminds, we make sure that they're not about money. We make sure that they're about making a difference. We make sure that the content that they're creating is actually making a difference in the world and not just scamming people out of money. And so if we're just a drop in the bucket, but we create more leaders that can do that in a kind of pond, you know, centrifugal circles, et cetera, then I think we've done our job. So,
and I have no idea how we're going to do any of that.
What?
I said, and I have no idea how we're going to do any of that.
We have no idea how we're going to do any of it. Every day,
and I don't care. I just know that we're going to do it our way. We're not going to follow the herd. It's never really been our style to follow the herd. I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, it's starting to come to that point where I'm sure we're going to land on a lot of people's desks and maps and stuff like that. And I think some of the people that I know at the top, you know, they have their little syndicate and they want to, you know, leverage each other and do stuff like that. And I keep wondering to myself if like one of those guys comes calling, would I work with them? And what keeps coming up for me is that I wouldn't. I don't even want to be part of that. I have no interest. It's amazing to me that me and you, one of the things I watch people do in this industry is they become like groupies, like internet marketing guru groupies, right? Like they want to meet the people, they want to get connected to them, they want to like meet the rock star, and they get all like flustered when they're around them. Like I've seen it happen a lot of times. I'm like, really? That's what you're going for? I mean, like that you just basically what you're saying to yourself is I don't have an issue with that you want to get after them or they want to get connected with them. There's a lot of guys I want to get connected with too. But it's like people want to model these people so much that they want to lose themselves. Yeah. And what I always like about us and it's just been our nature, you know, like thanks mom and dad for going against the grain about everything. We're like pretty against the grain. Like we don't like the herd and we want to do things our own way. But at the same time, I feel like that's what's going to serve us when you're talking about our mission in 2020. It's going to allow for that to come to fruition and for us to create something new because we're not looking at everybody else going, I want to do what they're doing. We're constantly looking for like, how can we keep doing what we're doing, you know, but do it at that level too. And I really love that. I hope, you know, anybody else who ends up watching this, it's my message to you too. Like the biggest gift you're going to give yourself is to give yourself freedom to be who the fuck you are. Biggest freedom, biggest gift I've given myself in my entire life. It's going to be a long mission for me. Acceptance is something I'm going to work on for the rest of my life. There's parts of me I can't stand. There's parts of me I'm like, yes, thank God I have that. And I'll work on that for the rest of my life, right? But it's all about acceptance and surrender to those kind of things and just saying, fine, that's where I am right now. How can I do it better next time? Not about getting on yourself every time you react in a way that doesn't please you or that you meet somebody who doesn't please you or whatever it is. But if you can give yourself permission to be who you really are, you know, that thing that, okay, I want to give you an example. Huge breakthrough in my life. You know that thing that when people tell you a compliment about you, you can't accept it? Isn't that always difficult? Like it's like accepting a gift that you're not sure that you can take. You feel weird about it. Now, I invite you to look at the conversation in your mind when that's happening is somewhere along the lines or some version of if you knew who I really was, you wouldn't be saying that. And because of that, you can't really hear what other people are saying about you. Now, other people might see you differently than you are. I often think that actually when I meet a stranger, I perk up my ears a little bit more when they tell me who I am, because strangers don't have a lot of backlog on you. So the only feedback they can give you is based on the way that they feel when they're around you. It tends to be more accurate than people who know you for a long period of time and have all these stories and, are ranting off their stories about you and stuff like that. Anyway, my point here is that you can't accept that because you haven't started sharing that part of yourself with people. I remember I used to not share my story about suicide and depression and anger and all these kind of things with people because my impression was, if you knew that about me, not only would you not tell me what you just told me, which I kind of want to hear, right, if I'm being honest, but not only would you not tell me that, but you would run away. That would be the last conversation me and you were having. You're going to be like, oh, this guy is fucked up. Time to run for the hills, right? And I think everyone has that, some version of that. Now, the irony is that when I started sharing that story, the exact opposite of what I thought would happen is what really happened, is that everybody came closer in. Everybody suddenly wanted to be around me. They wanted to be part of the conversation that I was. I was more integrous in their eyes. I had nobility and wisdom suddenly in their eyes. I had discovered something that other people hadn't. It was one of the most interesting experiments of my entire life. And to this day, I'm the first person I'll tell you the most messed up things about me from the moment you meet me, because what I see is that it creates connection. It allows for you to let down your guard so that you can experience who you are and share the parts of yourself that you never get to share. And if you've ever been around me, the creepiest thing is that people will share the weirdest crap with me, because that is who I am for people. I'm the space to be however the fuck you want to be. And honestly, for me, that's probably been the biggest gift of my entire life that I've given myself and been able to give other people.
Yeah, Guy is spot on over there. I can't tell you how many people have personally written us emails or pulled us aside during a live event and told us how that this single thing is the greatest gift that they've ever received from being around us. Not the marketing training, not the techniques, not even earning their first 6 or 7 figures. It's actually just allowing themselves to be themselves for the very first time in their lives. Just think about that for a second. What's holding you back? Who are you trying to be? Are you still living the life that your parents or grandparents or friends around you are hoping that you continue to live? What would it feel like to actually live by your own design? Create the life of your own choosing. Amazing things to just think about. It might not happen overnight, but these are conversation starters. These are things to think about and really start shifting the way you live your life. So guys, with that, we're going to wrap up part 1 of Beer Talk 3.0. This upcoming Thursday, make sure you look for it, will be part 2. In part 2, we talk about some incredible things like how to use fear as your guide and run towards it instead of away from it, how to unlock and shift the world around you, and how, for those of you that always complain well, I don't have the results, why should someone listen to me, how you can attract thousands, tens of thousands of customers without ever having a single result once you master this single thing. Just some of the things we'll cover in part 2. So had so much fun recording this. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. And as always, if you love this, please head over to iTunes, leave us a rating, a comment, and a review. That is the best way to pay us back. Love you all, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Performance Enhancing Podcast. We've taken this pep talk and created a custom action guide so you know exactly what action steps to take now to grow your business. Just head over to SatoriPrime.com/podcast and download it for free. Also, please leave a comment and rate this podcast on iTunes. It'll help us get the word out. Thanks for listening. Now, go and implement. We'll see you next time.